Termites. Welcome back. It's night 6. The Grand Termite was here, but he didn't do story time. He did the pubcast instead. And then we went golfing. And then we had some drinks, so we didn't get to story time. It was nice seeing him, though. The Grand Termite's hair is getting very long. It's his protest. If you want to see how long it is, you can click on the pubcast video. You don't even have to listen to the pubcast, but if you want to see it, he said he looks like Nick Nolte. He gets mistaken for Nick Nolte and also for Kenny Rogers, which really kind of upsets him because Kenny Rogers is actually dead. So the Termite's not very happy about that. And he's got a beard, too. He looks crazy, if you want to see a crazy person. What are we drinking? Well, this is a Bloody Mary with what? Hanson of Sonoma. This is a family-owned distillery in Sonoma. Everybody knows where that is, California, up there. And it's a habanero-flavored vodka somehow made out of grapes. You got me. I don't even understand that. I do like it, though. I'm not even I don't know. But I love that habanero flavor. It's got a ton of kick. Like, if you want to wake your ass up with a Bloody Mary, I don't know if this is available everywhere. See if they have a website. Probably. Hanson. Like the Hanson triplets? Twins? Wasn't there a band of children named Hanson? Hanson Brothers? I don't know. Anyway, that's what's going on here. This is really good. It's really hot. Late afternoon drinking on behalf of you guys who still have jobs. I wish I did. We keep talking about, we keep moving dates, rescheduling everything, but, you know, can't make what's happening going to happen. And, you know, what's my opinion worth? A shot of vodka. That's what my opinion's worth. But unless all of the termites start behaving, I think we're in for a super shit show. Not just a shit show, a super shit show. I will be right here next to my gas fire and the lamp from my bedroom. So, you know, stay safe, termites. Don't be bad. All right. Let's get back to some Loretta, shall we? By the way, the courthouse burned to the ground 5 days after we got married. That should have told me something. So our marriage got off to a bad start from the first. From the first. So our marriage got off to a bad start from the first day. Didn't they forget a word there? First day or beginning? Huh. Interesting. It got worse the next morning when Dew whipped me. Oh my God. I know that people got the idea from coal miner's daughter that Dew hit me the next day because he was frustrated about me not doing my part sexually the night before. That ain't exactly the case. That means there's going to be a crazy story. That's the cue for, well, that ain't, when they go, that ain't exactly what happened. You can guess the next one's going to be crazier. Long before I ever wrote songs, I wrote lines with rhymes. The trouble was, I didn't know what a lot of words meant. I still don't always know. Well, I don't either. Ron said, the Grand Termite threw out a word in the pubcast, and I was like, I don't even know what that means. I'm not even embarrassed anymore. I used to just act like I knew it. I mean, I wouldn't say I knew it, but I would just go along with it. And now I'm like, yeah, I fucking never heard of that. I still don't always know, and it's gotten me into trouble many times in my life. The story about baloney making people horny is just the tip of the iceberg. What? I've never heard that bologna makes people horny. I don't even know what that is in reference to. I will say, as a Midwest person, I love fried bologna. The thin kind. You have to get Oscar Mayer, the regular thing of Oscar Mayer, throw it in a pan. Then you let when the meat starts bubbling, it actually gets bubbles in it. It's fascinating to watch. Take it out, put it on Wonder Bread with mayonnaise. Delicious. Other bologna, not cooked, I can't do it. But I can do Braunschweiger. Anyway, that's a long story. In fact, years after I got into the country music business, I was part of a show that Perry Como put on here in Nashville. When he left town, he told somebody I was a phony. Now what? He didn't think anybody could be that ignorant. Oh my gosh. I ain't a phony, but I'll admit to being ignorant. Ignorant. That's the way they would say it. My Ozark hillbilly friends would say, ignorant. Ignorant. I do think Dew really did want to cheer me up, make me feel better about the previous night. On our first day as man and wife, he got up and he said he'd go get breakfast for me and him. It was still raining hard, a cold, miserable day. But when Dew looked out the window, he started singing, oh my God, my dad used to sing this to wake us up. Through the vent, he would sing it through the vent to the second floor. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. And literally, I wanted to punch my dad in the face. And he really liked doing it the first day of school, which was triple annoying. So Dew is singing this. He was wearing shoes and a top that were sewn together. It was the ugliest thing I ever saw. I think he wore them clothes in the Army. He kept singing while he got dressed. I was sitting there in bed rolling backwards and forwards with my arms wrapped around my knees. Finally, I decided to try and get myself together. If Duke could try and put the wedding night behind us, maybe I could too. So when he opened the motel door and a gust of wind blew in, I thought I'd make a funny rhyme with the word I'd heard them big boys at school sneak around and use. Shut the door, you little whore, I said. All right. What a thing to say. And that sure did. No, I promise you, I didn't have any idea what a whore was. I'd only heard the word, and it sure rhymed with door. I didn't think being called a whore after sexual frustration was what Dew needed to hear, especially since he didn't know me well enough to understand I didn't even know what I was saying. You see how there's a hillbilly mix-up here? It's gonna spin out. I'm guessing. He turned in his track. He bent me over on his knee. He beat my bottom, and I bawled. If my daddy or my grandpa Ramey, is that the Indian who does only grunts, would have walked in that room, they'd have shot Dew on the spot. But nobody got shot, and I was finally able to have sex. Well, this just worked out great. In fact, all through our married life, I never withheld sex from Dew. I thought wives were supposed to do it for their husbands, even though being a wife didn't come natural to me. I tried to be a good one. I don't think I had any idea how much it bothered Dew that I didn't like sex in those days, even for a long time after. Years later, if someone really made him open up about it, he'd say that my reaction bothered him a lot. I guess it made him feel like he was doing something wrong. From the beginning, I convinced myself that it was my fault he went looking for other women. Well, on the Dan Rather Access interview with Loretta, which is current-ish, he said, what about the fact Dew, fooled around? And she said, I didn't see nothing. So they're just going to live in denial land. But right here she admits it, that he went looking for other women. Well, chapter 4. The damned old dog won't even eat it. Who names a chapter that? I like it. Back then, I didn't understand that sex was our biggest problem. I thought it was my cooking. I wasn't no cook and never claimed to be. Well, so far, Loretta can't do anything. But let's not forget she's like 9. No, I'm kidding. But I do think she's 13. I wasn't no cook and never claimed to be. I never had to do it so much because Mommy was so good in the kitchen. So I just usually try to cook up some beans and fried potatoes and cornbread. Simple food. I'm with her on that. I can make mashed potatoes, scrambled eggs, pancakes, dip, and a cheese ball. That's your menu. The Webb, for one thing, do like steaks. I never even ate beef till we was married. The Webbs, no, because they ate more rodent, squirrel and such. The Webbs couldn't afford steaks. Dew said he hated everything I made. I really tried to cook the way Dew liked. I'd get up at 5 in the morning so I'd have a half an hour to get breakfast ready for him. He'd take one bite and throw the food off the back porch to our dog Drive, a name we just happened to pick. Then he'd stomp off to work in the coal mines. I'd cry most of the day and finally start fixing supper in the afternoon. We called it supper back then. I grew up with supper. What's for supper? I don't know when it changed to dinner. Dinner was something you had on Sunday. Well, no, not for us. We just called it supper all the time. Dinner was what rich people did, I think, in my mind. But the scene was always the same. Dude would come home dirty and tired from the mines. He'd clean up and then sit down and eat. He'd take one bite, or sometimes he'd just look at the food and he'd heave it over the porch. Sometimes he'd throw the plate along with the food. Well, now that's just dumb, isn't it, dude? Because you ain't got no money at this point. You don't need to be throwing dishes off the goddamn balcony because you're pissed. Sometimes he'd throw the plate along with the food. Throwed the plate. Through? How about through? Drive sometimes ran when the food was thrown. See there, dude yelled, the damned old dog won't even eat it. Why, of course not, I said. He's so fat he can't eat no more. Can't, and they spelled that out. C-A-I-N-T apostrophe T. Can't. He's so fat he can't eat no more. That's the Kurt part of the Kentucky accent I'm talking about. Can't. He won't, and he can't. You're ignorant. Knowing what I know now about how Red Lynn treated his family, it didn't surprise me that dude threw food out in the yard at the drop of a hat. Shoot, Red once threw a whole Thanksgiving dinner just because one of his kids started eating before he did. Try as I did, every morning dude stomped out to the mines. Every night he stomped out too. I couldn't figure out why dude hated my cooking so much. Me and Drive liked it just fine. I tried every trick I could think of, having some friends who was good cooks, and dude's own mama cook up his supper. Dude wasn't home much, and when he was home, he didn't have much to say to me. I had one menstrual period less than a month after I married. I didn't have another until my first child, Betty Sue, was born. I didn't even know that what doing me was doing in bed caused babies. So when I started feeling sick, I went to Doc Turner just like always. It never crossed my mind I was going to have a baby. Oh, my Lord. Well, Loretta, he said, you're not sick. You're pregnant. Mothers who don't tell their daughters about sex and how babies are made aren't doing their daughters any favors. I can tell you that. Catholic school didn't bother to go into that either. I can tell you that. Of course, kids today know everything from television and the sex education they get in school. Not in a Catholic school. Not a Catholic grade school, anyway. I was 4 months pregnant when dude run me off. I wasn't sure why at the time. He seems to have lost interest in me, and everything I did made him mad. Best explanation I could come up with was my bad cooking. It happened late one night, about 10 o'clock, dude, and it told his brother Jimmy to take me home in his Jeep. He was sick of being married to me. I guess that's one way you just take her away. I can't look at her no more. It's driving me crazy. Her food is terrible. I throw it to the dog. The dog can't even eat it. Look at her. She doesn't even know how she got pregnant. Well, what do you know, do? When you look back over life, okay, we're going to do a retrospective moment here. These are always good. When you look back over your life and you see how much you've had to face and how you've dealt with it, it's interesting to try and pinpoint the first time you faced something that might tear you apart. Well, I had won the Hoop Shoot Championship through Missouri in the Midwest, and then I lost to get to the finals. That probably tore me apart a little bit inside. A little bit. Wasn't winning nothing but a dumb trophy, but I mattered. Anyway, first time you had to reach inside yourself and pull out strength you didn't know you had. Strength that even been needed up until then, hadn't even been needed up until then. Strength that was hiding somewhere, waiting for the first time it was needed. That was probably my first opportunity I had in life to be strong. When Johnny Lynn dumped me out in the dark and I had to hunt that lonely path to Mama and Daddy's doorstep. Oh, shit. I'm not saying I didn't have anything brave during the time I was living back home, but something inside me just changed just a little. I saw that life wasn't no teenage girl's idea of a fairy tale. No, not with Do. You'd have to wait that out for somebody other than that man. I decided that strength is a building process. It ain't something you just all of a sudden get. Right. It ain't some miracle that drops in on you. Right. It's one hard time after another, toughening you up for whatever might be hiding around the bend. Mom and Daddy welcomed me home, of course. They just couldn't understand why Dude had been so awful. Well, at least they didn't blame her. I could see that taking that hillbilly circle going, well, what did you do? They just couldn't understand why he'd been so awful. After all, he was the one who marched into their bedroom and asked to marry me. He'd done the right thing instead of trying to get me to have sex with him without being married. I didn't bring no clothes home with me that night, so Dude's brother dropped me off a half-mile home, so Mama took me over to pick up what little I had the next day. Me and Dude had been living in a coal miner's cabin at the Van Leer coal camp, where Dude was working. It was a pretty good house, with a kitchen, bedroom, and front room. It had no electricity or running water, but I liked it fine. Imagine showing a house like that now on open house day. Look, it ain't got no water and no electricity, but it's fine. It's fine. When me and Mommy got there, there was a surprise. Dude's mother had already been there and cleaned out all the furniture. The place looked like nobody had ever lived there. My sorry wardrobe was still hanging in the closet. A couple worn out shirts and things. A bottle of talcum powder that Mommy had got me for Christmas had been knocked over on the floor, which we now know causes cancer in some weird places, or so they say. I don't know what that's all about. I don't even know what you use it for. Meanwhile, I kept wondering how everything turned into such a mess. Why would my bad cooking cause Dude to throw me out? Well, as it turned out, it was not about me being a good cook. It was about me not knowing anything about how to please a man. He'd found someone who did know. Maybe it was Dolly Parton. Blah! He'd gone back to the woman who'd gotten married on him when he was away in the army. Oh, he went back to his first love. And people kept wondering where country songs come from. Exactly. He probably didn't like my meals, but them suppers he throwed to the dog was just a cover-up so he could stomp out and head over to his girlfriend's house. I kind of caught on to that a while back. You can't be that bad of a cook that you fuck up breakfast and dinner repeatedly. I saw this one coming. Nowadays, men say they're working late. When Dude got home from the army, I was working at school helping the teacher, Miss Betsy. Me and Miss Betsy were still good friends, and one day she stopped by to see me. Sometimes people tell you things that are going to hurt you because they set out to hurt you. Sometimes they're just gossips, and sometimes just too dumb to know any better. But Miss Betsy was none of those things. She came to tell me I needed to know because she was my friend. She wasn't going to sit there let me sit over at my mommy's all day long crying over the idea that cooking had washed me out as a wife. As far as Miss Betsy could see, it was Dude who was washed out as a husband by being unfaithful. Exactly. After Miss Betsy told us about Dude's girlfriend, all I could think of was how mean he was. I'd have never married Dude if I'd have known he really wanted someone else. This is just like Princess Di and Charles in The Crown. Are you guys watching The Crown? It's a great season, season 4. This is what happened. Charles loved Camilla. Never was going to love you. Never, never, never. The only man I'd ever been around was Daddy, and he was never mean to nobody. I grew up thinking all men was as kind as Daddy. Daddy never looked at another woman, and everybody in Butcher Holler knew he was a good and faithful husband. If people was slipping around the holler, Mommy and Daddy never spoke to us kids. And Daddy was home every night. I'd never heard them say a cross word to one another. It made me mad at Dude and even madder at the other woman. Now, see, now you're getting hillbilly. She's just sitting over there. She ain't your problem. He's your problem. That's a good place to stop, right, termites? Well, Thanksgiving's coming up. You gonna stay home? You gonna go somewhere? Curfews, 10 o'clock. I don't really understand what the curfews are supposed to do. Termites, do you? So you are closing the bars from 10 to midnight? I mean, I don't know. If I was in my 20s and 30s out drinking at the bar and they said last call's at 10 o'clock now, that would just mean at 9:30 I ordered 2 beers instead of 1. Am I missing something? I don't understand the curfews. I don't really think that's an effective. Either just don't do it or do something else. But the curfews seem kind of like a sissified, half-ass, well, I did something, but not really. That's right. I have a bit of a cold. It's not COVID. I think the termite gave me a cold. Okay, termites. Like I said, it's getting chilly out. Get your winter stuff out. Your winter pajamas. Oh, and guess what? We have Storytime t-shirts available if you want. There's some left from the second batch. And I'm creating a Madigan's Pubcast t-shirt that is long sleeve that will be available soon on the website. So those will be available for Christmas too. And those are black. So that can go with your Storytime white t-shirt. Other than that, that's all I got for right now, termites. Pull up your sheet, tuck yourself in. Know that you've made it through 8 months of a pandemic, which means you're a good termite. You're a worthy termite. You are a tenacity-filled termite. That's a big one, right? All right, pull your sheets up. I'm going to say it. Close your eyes. Night-night, termites.